Splatoon is almost 10 years old. Whoa, what happened? It's really weird to think about how long this series has been around at this point because everyone thinks of this as the new Nintendo franchise. To be fair, in the grand scheme of Nintendo releases, Splatoon is still pretty new when you compare it to your Marios and your Zeldas, but it's just weird to think that this game is about to be as old as I was when I first played it. When I was younger, I was so excited for Splatoon. During that time, we just didn't get many big Nintendo releases that were completely new series. To be fair, we still don't really, but that's beside the point. I definitely wasn't the only person excited because this game was a pretty big deal, and it was released on the Wii U. Big deals were not released on the Wii U, but the reason I bring this up is because today, I'm feeling nostalgic. I just sort of wanted to look back at the first Splatoon game to see if it still holds up, as well as to say some final goodbyes before they shut down the servers forever. So first things first, let's see how this game's online holds up. Okay, I'll let you know in about 20 minutes to an hour. Yeah, so to no one's surprise, these servers are pretty dead. It's honestly pretty sad to see because I remember getting into games so quickly when this game came out. Don't get me wrong, it makes sense. There are two newer games on a platform that more people can play, but it's still just sad to see a once thriving online game just being abandoned by most people. But I was able to get into a few games, and once I did, I kind of remembered that I'm not that great at Splatoon. I wasn't able to play ranked at all because I was barely even able to play Turf War, but as far as normal Turf War goes, it's pretty fun. Since this game isn't very active anymore, you basically get two types of people you're going to go up against. You have little Timmy who got a Wii U hand-me-down from his older siblings, or someone who is max level and hasn't stopped playing the game since launch. Now look, when you get a game full of Timmys, this is fun. They just stand there, slowly run at you while you absolutely obliterate them. It's great. But then when I have to go against someone who's actually good at the game, suddenly it's not as fun. Now I should probably actually explain what the goal in this game mode is. So in your normal team shooter, you have objectives like killing a certain amount of players before the other team does, or capturing some sort of objective. But in this game, at least in the main Turf War mode, your goal is to paint as much of the ground as possible with your color ink. This is actually a pretty interesting and unique concept compared to a lot of other games. The ink not only acts as your way to color the map, it also acts as a way to heal and get more ammo. Being in the enemy's ink will slow you down as well as damage you a little bit, so if you want to win a fight with someone, you're going to want to make sure that the ground around you is the right color. The entire ink system is probably the best part of this game because that's really what makes it stand out. Like I said, there are ranked games modes, but I just wasn't really able to play them this time around since it was hard enough to try and get into a normal game. But from what I have experienced from the other Splatoon games, the ranked modes are usually a nice way to switch things up since while Turf War is fun, it can get very repetitive. Honestly, even with the other game modes, Splatoon is just a pretty repetitive game in general. That doesn't mean it's bad, but I've always had trouble staying into the Splatoon online for longer than like a month. To be fair, that's how I am with like all live service games. I will say though, it's nice to play a live service game that doesn't have constant microtransactions shoved down your throat. I think the saddest part about all of this though is that in April, Nintendo is shutting down the Wii U servers, meaning this game won't live to see its 10th birthday. Yeah, you'll still be able to play it if you own a copy, but you won't be able to do any of the online stuff, which was a huge part of the game. Now, before we move on to the section that I'm most excited to talk about, I do want to mention how much I love this game's world. Just in the little hub area, they do a really good job of making this feel like a place where these weird humanoid sea creatures actually live. The game makes sure you understand how these creatures work, what they do, and even some of their history. I will say that I think they go a little overboard in some areas, like when you just want to buy a new weapon and you have to listen to this guy ramble on for like 10 minutes, or when you have to watch a full news broadcast every time they switch the multiplayer maps. These are all things that make this feel like an actual world, but I do think it would have been nice if you could just skip some of this stuff. But on to what I consider to be the most interesting part of the game, we have the single player campaign. This is a part of the game that I feel like Nintendo didn't advertise nearly as much as the multiplayer, which is kind of a shame because I honestly think this is the best part of the game. Not saying that the multiplayer is bad or anything, but the single player does a much better job of introducing new ideas to the player while the multiplayer is just you sort of doing the same thing over and over again. You see, the basic Splatoon gameplay of just painting the ground and killing enemies can be super fun and feels really good, and I think this mode sort of offers a way to enjoy that even if you're not amazing at the multiplayer. You don't have to be really good at Splatoon to enjoy this campaign, but this campaign is going to make you feel like you're really good at Splatoon. Enemies in this mode are really stupid and die really fast, but when there are a lot of them, you're not going to be able to just rush in and you'll have to be a little stealthy. But like I said, the enemies are really stupid, so after you hide for more than 2 seconds, they have no clue where you are. If you haven't really gotten the point by now, this game game is pretty easy. There weren't really any sections where I felt like I might actually run out of lives or anything like that, but despite the fact that it's not hard, that doesn't really take away from the fact that it's really fun. The core gameplay of this game is just really satisfying, so no matter what they threw at me in these levels, I was just sitting back and enjoying it. This was a really fun game mode to just sort of relax a little bit and just have fun, and I think it's good to have a game like that every once in a while. There's a constant flow of new ideas in these levels, whether that be new level gimmicks or new enemies, which keep the game interesting the whole way through. The one thing that is a little weird to me though, is how these levels are very abstract, I guess you could say. This isn't inherently a bad thing, and there are a lot of Nintendo games that do this, but when this is in a game that has you watching full news broadcasts, it seems like a little bit of a conflict of interest. On one hand, this game is very dedicated to its world and really wants to make you feel like this is a lived-in place, but then on the other hand, we have giant floating blocks of concrete. This is clearly done because it gave them more freedom with how the levels are designed, and I think ultimately it was the right way to go, but it's still just a little weird. There are some levels that take place in edited versions of the multiplayer maps, and I think these are cool, but they do kind of add to the weird contrast between the normal looking places and the space sponges. Honestly, this is more just nitpicking than anything, because overall, the single player is really fun and probably one of the most unique things you can play on the Wii U. Oh crap, I almost forgot the bosses. The bosses are actually really fun, even though most of them are pretty simple. I do really like the one where you have to throw a bomb in this guy's teeth. That one was really fun. I think the main attraction out of these boss fights, though, is definitely the final boss. It's genuinely really fun, and it was probably the most challenging part of the game. Near the end, they've got really good music playing, and there's like a million things happening on the screen at once, and it's just a fun time. I will say, though, there's like no build up to this boss. I was just playing the game and then it just sort of showed up. Time for credits now. I mean, could you imagine if I ended a video like that?